We are starting to stream, but making sure that it pops up on YouTube. Making sure that it pops up on YouTube. I see you. I see me on YouTube. I hear me. Making sure that it pops up on YouTube. Let me see if I hear you. I see you. I see
Check,
me
check.
on YouTube. Whoops, I hear
I have
me.
my
Making sure that
volume
it pops
off.
up on YouTube. Let me see if I hear you. I see you. Let me see if I hear you.
Check.
Yep, I hear you on there.
Check. Yep, I heard as well.
Yep, there's just about a 10-second delay. That always freaks me out. I'm like, oh, it's not working.
Yeah, that was a long delay.
Just in case you get into a cursing fit, we got a 10-second delay to work with.
Yeah, that's plenty. I shouldn't have that many curse words unless we get really going on JJ McCarthy.
That's what I say. We're going to be talking JJ McCarthy, so.
Yeah.
All right, we are
All
live.
Right. Yeah, welcome everybody to Bet the Close on Fantasy Football Metrics channel. We're recording live. Our annual Thanksgiving tradition is to get everyone around the table and talk about the Thanksgiving games. And that is exactly what we're going to do today. The 3 Thanksgiving games and also the Black Friday game. Andrew DFS wasn't there on his research on a Tuesday, so he won't be joining us or contributing ideas. I'm sure he'll be checking in tomorrow and Thursday to on the group chat. And Scott, the original host of Bet the Close, I asked him for his input if he had any ideas to share, and he wasn't there yet. He was doing research because I did a parlay on FanDuel, and I did the pass the leg parlay to him. So we'll talk about that. You could put a leg.
Oh, I saw
in.
that. Yeah.
Yes, I sent it to Scott, and he said, I'm still working on my pass the leg parlay. Once the person you pass it to puts their bet in, everyone gets the whole parlay. So
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, the voice you're hearing is the very wise and very great RC Fisher, who is joining live, and we're going to take you through the Thanksgiving games. And RC, there is great pressure on us to continue our winning ways on Thanksgiving. Just some people sent a note, hey, I really need some winners on Thanksgiving. So while I'm drinking wine or espresso martinis or whatever they're having, they want to be winning some props. So that's on us.
I need to be winning. I need to salvage this prop disaster that I'm going on. I'm going to be saved by all my summer bets, season-long bets, but man, my week-to-week props, I have a knack for falling 1 yard short and 1 catch short on every big-time prop I chase after, so starting to heat up the last couple weeks. I need a big Thanksgiving to make my in-season betting get back to the positive numbers.
Well, I think we can get there. We usually do find some Thanksgiving bets that we're pretty excited about. And I continue to believe that you would be a 75% prop better if you focused on the unders for the people that you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm saying you know, you're like, this guy is good, but the team hates him. You really do have the usage dialed in, but like most people, the mindset is over. In particular, the reason I think it's fun to do over is just because you can ladder it and get even more if you blow it away. But those unders, as much as they're not fun to cheer for, I really think that's the place where the money can be made. So listen, we have 4 games, but we have a lot of business to get to beforehand. JJ McCarthy is the topic of the day, so I think we should spend some time on JJ McCarthy and RC Fisher. You know that Bet the Close is a Boston-based show. A lot of the listeners are in the New England area, and they think you got some explaining to do on your Drake Maye early season take about his preseason and killing him for how he looked regressed and maybe worse than any of the quarterbacks that you were looking at. So can we start with JJ McCarthy and save the Drake Maye for a second?
Yep.
Okay. So JJ McCarthy is in every meme. He's being mocked and ridiculed for his terrible play. You have scouted him. You've seen all of his games except the most recent one, except the Packers game, correct?
Saw it live but haven't gone back and gone through in detail like I've been doing with his games all season, because I see it live, it looks shaky, he gets crushed in Twitter sphere. Then I go back and I look in detail at his games and I go, this isn't that bad. Like, he's making good decisions. I get why he threw that ball that high. I get why he threw that ball that looked like he doesn't know what he's doing. It's Jordan Addison who didn't know what he was doing. So I always walk away. I always have the same flow, it seems, because I have a lot of, for fantasy football, I have a lot of, for Dynasty, I have a lot of J.J. McCarthy long-term investments that J.J. McCarthy is an okay enough talent. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback I've ever scouted. He's not the worst quarterback I've ever scouted. But if you're going to pair him with Kevin O'Connell, then I'm interested. So I invested a lot in him. And when people started turning on him, I invested more in him and started putting him on my Dynasty benches and stashes and all that. And it's like a stock that just keeps going down. And I go through the same routine with him every week. I'm like, on Sunday night and Monday morning, I'm like, I'm cutting that dude. Like, I can't have a roster spot being taken by this guy that can't complete any passes and acting like a fool. And then I'm like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to watch that tape. And when I see that he sucks, I'm going to cut him. And then I go watch the tape and I go, son of a gun, that he's not bad. He's not as bad as what everybody's saying. Like, there's really, when you watch it from his perspective, you watch it from all 22, you watch it and see what the defenses are doing and how he's working around them, it's really not that bad. But I don't know, I can't say what this past week was because I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to assume it's the same as the last 5 times that I've done it, that I'm going to get all worked up and I'm going to cut them, and then I'm going to watch the tape and go, no, there's still hope here.
Well, I will say that I tend to agree with this last game at Green Bay. And for me, I was flipping between the Patriots and Vikings. There were the two games on my television, and not on Sunday Ticket, so I was going back and forth between them. And then I rewatched the entire Patriots game, but I'm just going from the pieces of the Viking game that I did see live on Sunday. I think you're going to see that. I mean, everyone, I think, is drawn to the 87 yards passing. This is my opinion, taking into account he's got 6 starts. I mean, Cam, you could say way worse things about Cam Ward, who has twice as many starts. He just, whether it's bad luck, I get that people are, there's frustration, but the 87 yards, he had 12 completions. He only attempted 19 passes, and a bunch of them were at the end of the game. The last 6 minutes of the game were both interceptions, and probably 4 of the incompletions. So he wasn't great, but he wasn't as bad as he's being made out in the Twitter sphere, because 12 of 19, 87 yards. Again, it's not great. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Jordan Love in the same game. I mean, what do you think of Jordan Love? You probably think he's a top 15 quarterback in the league, maybe top 12. I don't know. He threw for 139 yards in the game. It was very much, both teams ran the ball a bunch. The Vikings didn't run the ball as much as I would have liked them. They just didn't have the ball. I mean, the Vikings had 20 rushes. So the Packers had the ball the whole time. And really, what you'll see when you watch the tape is and I think, is the game was 10-6 Packers. And the Packers were punting the ball back to the Vikings. So it was one of those, there wasn't a whole lot going on for either team. And the Packers player blocked the Viking blocker into the punt returner, and the ball hit him. The Vikings just didn't get out of the way of the ball. So that's not McCarthy's fault. And then, of course, the Packers get the ball at the 10-yard line and score. That's when they went up to the point where it went. But I will say, just quickly, I did look this up just for fun. And it was pretty satisfying to see these results. The players that have played at Green Bay, I think people are missing the takeaway in this game. It's at Green Bay at home. is really good defense. I mean, that's it right up there with Denver. I think they're every bit the toughest place to play in the NFL. Jared Goff had 31 completions for 225 yards. I mean, that's 5.8 yards per attempt. That's nothing. One touchdown, one interception.
And you're talking about the Week 1 game.
This is Week 1.
He got most of that in garbage time, dumping passes to Jahmyr Gibbs like his life depended on it, because it was. I would say Goff was about to be sacked in that game 20 times, and he was reduced to just having to dump it off to Gibbs. When it was a game, I don't even know if Goff had 100 yards passing when that was a game. He got a lot of junk late, and that was probably the best result that's happened against Green Bay.
Gibbs had 10 receptions in that game, and that is the most that anyone had against them. The Week 2 was Jaden Daniels. Now, I know Daniels got banged up, but 42 attempts, 24 completions, 200 yards for Jaden Daniels. It got worse. Joe Flacco, 29 completions for 219 yards. Bryce Young went to Green Bay and won. 11 for 20, 102 yards. This is what everyone does. Jalen Hurts, 183 yards on that terrible, was it a Monday night game that they played? 15 to 26, 183 yards, 7 per attempt. So, and then you look at McCarthy's numbers and you're like, okay, you see the 87 and you can't help but look and see a double-digit number with his total passing yards per game. That's not good, but it was, it really was a function of the Vikings not having the ball, and obviously you need him to play better. There's no doubt, but relative to what? I mean, I think if you're measuring relative to the sixth start, I'm very sure, because everyone, the funny thing that everyone's getting a kick of now is to compare his first 6 starts to Jamarcus Russell, and I went back and looked at better quarterbacks than that over their first 6 starts, and McCarthy, his average QBR is higher than a lot of those players, including Caleb Williams was one of them. There were several. I can look at here and let you talk a bit, but I'm not saying, I don't know if McCarthy's good or not. What I do know is I can sniff out that the evidence isn't there to Josh Allen was the other one that has a lower. Josh Allen was lower than both McCarthy and Caleb Williams' average QBR in his first 6 starts. So we've seen this before, and we've done this before, we being the collective NFL audience. And how many people in the league right now at one point were mocked and laughed at? Obviously, Sam Darnold, even Vic Fangio with the fanny pack on the side. He's an amazing coach and coordinator. Lou Amarillo. The list goes on for people that are. And I just think you're right. The focus of what's the lightning rod is that he's kind of goofy. And when he called his alter ego 9, and so the memes go out, and it's kind of the height of that. But there are definitely other quarterbacks this week who played almost equally as bad as far as the stat line, and he's just taking all the attention. Is my thought.
There's always that quarterback every week that's under fire, and J.J. McCarthy's been under fire most all of the season. Then when he went and upset Detroit, all the memes stopped. Then there was we took a pause. We weren't allowed to criticize him because he just stuck it in everybody's face. Then he follows that up with a loss, and then we're back to all of the memes again. He just happens to be the easy target in the crossfire for whatever reason. Last year it was Will Levis that was in that same boat. And now we see you look at what Cam Ward's doing, and you're like, oh, maybe Will Levis wasn't that bad after all. J.J. McCarthy just seems to be in that range. And I get the thing that I'm wrestling with on J.J. McCarthy is I know he's not as bad as what they're saying, but from a fantasy football perspective, I'm trying to go, how good is he going to be, though? Like, what is the upside from here if he's really struggling? It's not going great. It's not going as bad as they say, but it's definitely not going great. And you look at guys in this era, I don't even care about the guys from the past. I mean, the Peyton Manning bad rookie season and the Josh Allen bad rookie season, that's a bygone era, even though it wasn't that long ago for like Josh Allen. the game has changed so much with quarterbacks in the last 3 years that if we're not comparing JJ McCarthy to something within the 3 years out, I don't think Josh Allen's slow start. I wonder if Josh Allen would have gotten the grace if Josh Allen was happening right now. If the Josh Allen rookie season was happening now, with all of his turnovers and all of that, it would probably be Josh Allen mania on Twitter sphere about how terrible he was. He got benched for Tyrod Taylor at one point. I can't remember if that was year 1 or year 2. Like, even Sean McDermott was getting sick of him. So the patience has been wearing thin more and more as we get up to the modern era. But now, like, if you don't hit it right away, teams are giving up on these rookie first-round quarterbacks. After 2 years, you're like, Mac Jones, I've had enough. Nice first year, crappy second year, you're gone, you're banished. Justin Fields, gone. Zach Wilson, gone. Trey Lance, gone. I mean, there's no patience anymore, and I get that. Because I want to, in this era, you see C.J. Stroud come out and tear it up as a rookie. You see some guys come out, and Bo Nix took him a couple weeks, and then he got going, took his team to the playoffs. Jaden Daniels just walks right in and tames the league like it's nothing. So the comparisons for a rookie quarterback now are so high. You don't have the luxury of failing and growing into it like you did in the past. So my concern is that we still don't know how good he is. We're into year 2. We're halfway or more into year 2. We still don't know how good he is. What's Kevin O'Connell's patience going to be? How is Max Brosmer? Is Brosmer going to be? What if McCarthy is out this week? And is it Brosmer or Brosmer? I can't even remember.
I say Brosmer, but I've never heard it said. I've only read it.
So when Max gets in, let's just say he has a great week, even if it's his only great week of the season. And scouting him in the preseason, he's pretty good. What if he's a Brock Purdy story and he gets in and is great? You think that there's J.J. McCarthy angst now. What happens if Brosmer goes in and does well? They're going to revolt to get J.J. McCarthy out of there. So I'm very much torn of what do I do with J.J. McCarthy from a dynasty perspective? Like, do I want to? How long am I willing to hold on to see if is J.J. McCarthy going to be the next Sam Darnold story? Which is great, but I gotta hold on for a couple more years till that story turns. And usually all those stories turn because they got with Shanahan, McVay, or Kevin O'Connell. Well, he's already with Kevin O'Connell. Like, how is this happening that he's still struggling this hard being with Kevin O'Connell for 2 years? Granted, he missed a year because of the injury. So I'm perplexed. I know he's not as bad as what they're saying, but now what I'm more debating is what is the upside? How good is he gonna be? And is the payoff gonna be 4 or 5 years from now? And I can't wait that long in fantasy or dynasty.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to wait that long. I think two things. I think the problem, there's definitely a problem, and from Kevin O'Connell, the coach who said young quarterbacks don't fail teams fail young quarterbacks. I look at Kwesi and KOC and I say, okay, you're the ones who said no, we don't need to sign Darnold, because Darnold's 28. You could have had Darnold for the next 10 years, 8 years, and so you use the first rounder pick on a quarterback. Who cares? So they made that decision, and so I think that was either their mistake, because they were the ones that had to know the most about whether McCarthy was ready. And then, but also, the one thing that's so clear to me that is not clear maybe to anyone who's not a fan of the team, or maybe doesn't remember to the preseason, it was very clear what was going to happen with the Vikings schedule. We debated this, you and I, RC. It was front loaded with the easier games, and the Vikings are just getting done with the death part of their schedule that was gonna knock them down and make, if they were not going to be good this year, it was going to be because of the last 5 weeks of the schedule. And I was listening to a show today that said McCarthy's awful, and it's not even like he's playing good defenses. It's like, wait, slow down. I mean, this guy's played the who's who of the NFL. There's been, you could say maybe the Chicago game, which I think Chicago's defense is, I mean, they're ranked low. They're like 26th, but they're better than that.
Did he play them the week that they finally got everybody back?
There was a lot. No,
there was like a week or two where they got everybody, and then not.
So I would say for the 2 weeks that the Vikings played the Bears, as a matter of fact, week 1 and the week they played them were the two healthiest weeks for the Bears defense. Now they lost. Now they got linebackers out, corners out. Just in time for Philly. So it sounds like a lot of excuses, but I'm looking at this and saying, I know he was in there for the toughest, the toughest part of the schedule. And we knew all season this was going to be the worst part. I wanted him to play overseas just to get that experience. So you do have this setup of a quarterback who, every quarterback gets the first 6 games, and there's almost nothing you can do to draw this kind of criticism. Like Cam Ward, like you were describing, usually these guys are on bad teams. I mean, we're going to get to Drake Maye next, but he played his whole first year, and there's no criticism. He won 4 games. That's not good. Yeah, and so, but he had a time to adjust to the NFL game and learn. And this is for me. I'm not, my expertise is not scouting quarterbacks, but I can look at this situation and say something's wrong with the logic that's being used to condemn this guy who had 5, now 6 starts. And I think that at Seattle is the last killer on the Vikings schedule. So I'm not that worried. I mean, I would be cheering for Max Brosmer or Brosmer, but I'm going to tell you, the Vikings are going to Seattle without the entire left side of their offensive line. That's another thing in the Green Bay game that they lost. They lost both Darisaw and I'm blanking on the
Jackson.
Left guard. Jackson. So they lost both of those guys during the game. Now this stuff happens, but I'm just saying.
But when that happens, when Buffalo lost Trent Brown on the Thursday night game, then the Buffalo Bills melted down. The Chargers haven't been right since Joe Alt went down. The Eagles lost to Dallas without Lane Johnson. You could just go through and follow the key offensive line injuries and almost bet your football games strictly based on the offensive line health or not offensive line health. So when he loses those offensive linemen in game, that's just more pressure to ever being good or digging himself out of a hole.
Yeah, we can close it with, I mean, when I know people aren't watching is when they say that, well, I think there might be, as Dr. David Chow says, hiding behind health. Does he really have a concussion? I mean, the reason that you would not know if he had a concussion, like when the concussion occurred, is not because he wasn't hit. It was because his head hit something 10 times in that game. There's back-to-back plays between the 2 interceptions. Those were the last 2 Viking drives, interception. So between the first interception and then in the drive where the second interception would occur, McCarthy had like a 10 or 12-yard scramble, got tackled, and hit the guy's helmet, hit McCarthy pretty hard. The very next play, he threw the ball and was sacked, and his head was driven into the ground. So it was, and in both cases, RC, he's like quarterbacks go down, they pop right back up. He was laying there, and they picked him up. So he got crushed in that game. I mean, he got the Packers destroyed him in that game. So I will say this: there is 100% chance that if he's reporting concussion symptoms, it's a concussion, and a 0% chance that he doesn't want to play against Seattle.
And to put another final nail into it, when I watched him against Chicago, that was supposedly the worst game that anybody had ever seen from a quarterback until McCarthy's following week, last week. But when everybody was saying that was such a terrible game, they pulled into the lead with under a minute left, so couldn't have been that horrible. But as I'm watching that game back, watching both sides, and I'm just watching Caleb Williams and I'm watching JJ McCarthy, I'm going, JJ McCarthy's better than Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams has been starting perpetually for a year and a half and still sucks and still throws to wide open guys. He overthrows it. When I watch JJ McCarthy have his bad throws, I see that what he's trying to work the route with the receivers, and he's not on the same page, or there's maybe a real Jordan Addison problem, is one of the things that worries me from watching the tape, that Jordan Addison is just not running smart routes. McCarthy's throwing to the right places, and Addison's not going there. That JJ McCarthy has his bad throws too, but Caleb Williams has way more bad throws and way more time in the NFL. I'd be scared to death, but the Bears keep finding a way to win, and the Vikings keep finding a way to lose. So everybody's cool with Caleb Williams now, even though he's still as bad as he was last year. But everybody hates JJ McCarthy. It's all because of the wins and losses. If they start winning games, like he won the Detroit game, they'll stop talking about it. And when Caleb Williams starts losing games, like is about to happen with their schedule, I think, then we'll get on to proper scouting of Caleb Williams. I still go back to what I'm wrestling with JJ McCarthy is, how good is this going to be? I expected him to be better by now. I expected to see better signs of a better fantasy output type of quarterback. I'm not seeing it yet. But, CJ Stroud started hot. He looks terrible now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these guys waver in and out of being good and bad now for probably so many reasons we can't even see, between receivers running the wrong routes or offensive line injuries. So, I'm giving JJ McCarthy more time, but I'm now trying to just, like, how good is this going to be? Is this just going to be okay? Is he going to be like a good quality hand at quarterback? Or is he going to go to, some nuclear level and be one of the great fantasy output quarterbacks? I just don't know, and I'm starting to get worried. I thought, man, you put a halfway decent quarterback with Kevin O'Connell, this is going to be gold. When he can shape and mold him for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, this is going to be great. We're a year and a half into this, and it's still struggling. That doesn't mean it won't work 2 years from now, but it don't look so hot right now.
Yeah. Well, I would
for what I wanted it to be, for what I needed it to be.
There's no doubt. Again, like, this is just kind of, you gotta tilt the scale pretty hard in the other direction just to get things maybe a little more balanced. But it certainly does not look good. But as far as worst, one of the Viking podcasts I have this historically bad worst start to a career ever. Worst start to a career ever. He won 2 road games in his division already in 6 starts. That can't be the worst. And in another game, as you said, he scored the go-ahead touchdown to put them ahead, and then they gave up a kick return. So you got that muffed punt, the kick return. There's a lot of bad things going on with the Vikings. I hate what's going on with the Vikings, but I don't channel all that hate to JJ McCarthy. And how good can it be? I don't know. Look, Tom Brady was dinking and dunking for how long before he really turned into like a passer of the ball and carving up defenses. It wasn't 5 games. It wasn't 6 games. I heard earlier this year, Sam Darnold, just the way he snaps his head from one read to the next, it's remarkable to look at. This is the same guy everyone was mocking for seeing ghosts on the sideline.
He was the J.J. McCarthy meme however many years ago with the Jets.
But and actually, I'll say, he probably earned it more than McCarthy has so far. I mean, as far as how extended a period of poor play that he had. Okay, so what you're saying is if McCarthy was on the Patriots, they'd be 11-1 versus 10-2. So
if he was on the Bears, he might be 8-3 and enjoying the Caleb Williams the Passover that Caleb Williams is getting.
Well, I'm very interested to see the end of the season when the schedule for the Vikings lightens up a bit versus the top teams in the league that are, murderers row. And then from there, hopefully they have the offensive line intact when that happens. But it's kind of crazy to think that it's going to be late October next season when JJ McCarthy, if assuming he can get back on the field and stay on the field, it'll be late October next year when he has a season worth of starts. The fact that it's in year 3, all that stuff is bad. All that stuff is disappointing. But I think there's plenty of places to put the blame. But he doesn't look bad to me when he's playing. The results are just bad.
And I think he's going to learn a lot sitting behind Max Brosmer for the next season or two. And
people, you can learn a lot from Max Brosmer. Well, you know what I love?
I'm not ruling out that it's just Max going to at Seattle is quite the first start. If that were to happen, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen to a young quarterback. But
he came into, I think, the Rams game, and he looked.
It
was a blowout.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He looked fine. So, all right. So let's address Drake Maye with the New England fans. All he's done is throw touchdowns, elude pass rushes, look smooth, be in the MVP race, deserving or not deserving. He's there. Your thoughts on Drake Maye, what you've seen this whole season versus the early scouting coming out of training camp?
I cannot. There's times when a player comes up and like the JJ McCarthy discussion. You're like, well, this happened, and you got to consider this, and you got to consider that, and it's all legit. And sometimes there are quarterbacks that break good, and you go, well, that's Blake Bortles had a big year. You always go back and go, well, Blake Bortles had that 1 year too. So I'm keen to go in on guys like Drake Maye has a big step up from last season, and I want to go in and go, is this real? Just like with JJ McCarthy, is also this bad stuff real? When I look at all the Drake Maye stuff, I can't critique him. I fold my cards. He's good. We could debate how good he is, but I see the progression. I see that he's become a legit quarterback. Sometimes quarterbacks get thrown in and have a good, like Mac Jones. When Mac Jones was having his good rookie season, I was like, this is bullshit. This is not great quarterback play. This is great. This is good play calling. He's throwing it to, Davis Mills is on a heater right now. Davis Mills is the MVP of the league for the last 3 weeks. Davis Mills is not playing real legitimate quarterback. He's throwing to spots. He's throwing to the play call. He's not reading the field and is a surgeon and all of that. And I thought that's what Drake Maye was going to be like. That's what I thought Mac Jones was, even when he was good as a rookie, and when he was terrible as a sophomore in the NFL. I was like, see, there you go. Now Mac Jones looks great. So I see guys have good and bad moments, and a lot of times these quarterbacks, they get on a bit of a lucky roll where they are just throwing to the play call. They're throwing to where the receiver's supposed to be. The receiver's getting there. They're making a good throw. It's all working. Interceptions get dropped. Games get won on crazy. It's like it all goes their way. Like it's all going Davis Mills' way right now. I cannot say that that's what's happening to Drake Maye. He is playing good football. I didn't think it at first. I thought it was a little bit of luck in the beginning, and there was a lot of throws he was making where guys were completely covered, and like Butte was making these unbelievable catches, and I'm like, this is all crap. Maye's not progressing, but as the season has gone on, I'm seeing it. He's playing legit quarterback. He has arrived to being a good NFL quarterback. We can debate whether he's going to be great, or we can debate whether he's going to regress to mediocre, but I can't take anything away from him. He is good. I got no complaints. And it makes somewhat makes the case, or gives the hope for JJ McCarthy, in that I thought Drake Maye was pretty bad last year. Thrown in as a rookie with a terrible coaching staff. So not shocking that he was under pressure a lot and looked bad. Looked like he was just not reading the field and just throwing it to spots. But this year, I see him starting to make his progressions and being patient, and I got no complaints. He's good. I was wrong to bet against him. I didn't want anything to do with him for fantasy. I thought there's no way New England's going to have a good season, because there's no way that Drake Maye is going to be able to pull him into a good season. If I would have bet on it one way or the other, if I would have bet him under, or if I would have bet the Patriots under, I would have lost my butt, deservedly so. I didn't touch it, so I didn't bet Mike Vrabel as Coach of the Year, so he's probably going to get that. So I'm going to lose all my money on everybody else I bet. But Drake Maye is good. Nothing more I can say. He's good. He and Jackson Dart are the most shocking quarterbacks to me this season, in the turns that they've made from what I saw from them in college, and with Drake Maye in his rookie year in the NFL. I am shocked of the progressions that they have made into year two. I didn't think Maye had this ability, and I didn't think Dart had anywhere near this type. I didn't see any of this at Ole Miss. I didn't see him running like he does. He's a much grittier, smarter passer. At Ole Miss, he was kind of like Drake Maye in his first year. I'm starting to wonder if Lane Kiffin is the biggest joke of a college coach, and that LSU is about to invest a whole lot of money in a complete disaster, as college programs tend to do. That Lane Kiffin may have been holding Jackson Dart. When I see Jackson Dart now in the pros compared to what he was in college, I mean, go look at his stats in the SEC against equivalent competition. His numbers were terrible in the SEC. He was throwing passes, no read, just throwing the ball to where he thought it was supposed to go, throwing it to Trey Harris, hoping something would happen. He didn't run as much. He's like a totally different quarterback. I'm stunned at the difference. And it makes me think, man, Lane Kiffin may be a terrible... I know he's got a reputation for being a terrible head coach. He's failed in a lot of places. But they're all excited about him at Ole Miss, and I got to see what he's done this particular year. But I'm like, he didn't do Jackson Dart any favors. That Jackson Dart that I see now should have been the number one pick in the draft. Like, the fact that he wasn't, to me, is a stain or a pox on Lane Kiffin. But Dart looks great, and I say Drake Maye looks good. I'm not in the great category, but he looks definitely good. Better than Caleb Williams, better if talking about quarterbacks from that class. Penix is good, Nix is good, Maye is good. I didn't think he was going to join the good group, but he has. So, hats off to him. And congratulations to the Patriots fans, because it's working. And I thought and I don't like Josh McDaniels, so I thought, boy, the combination of these two, I'm not going to like it. But they've done a really nice job. I take the loss on it.
Yeah, I will say, Maye, he does throw a great deep ball, and he moves around in the pocket, avoiding the rush, and then
that's what I've really noticed lately is how savvy he is in the pocket.
It's unbelievable, really, that the way he moves within the pocket. And I've only been, again, writing up the Patriots for you for 5 or 6 weeks, so really watching the games back, and it's like, wow. The only thing I would say on the other side of that was this past game against Cincinnati was interesting, because the Bengals don't have a good defense. but they were getting some pressure, especially as the Patriots' offensive linemen started going down. And even in a 3-point game, he would kind of lob one up off his back foot, to Diggs. That if there weren't two Bengals going for it, it could have been an interception and at a critical moment. So that balanced against the Patriots got stuffed at the goal line twice, and May put a ball where it would have been a perfect pass to Boutte, but he was pass interference by Dax Hill. So that's a 40-yard touchdown taken away from him. So even if I have some plays where I'm like, that jumps out at me as like, okay, he wasn't the best under pressure right there. There's so many good things that overwhelm that, and do the same thing as you do for any other young quarterback. May just a couple of weeks ago got his 16th start was sometime during the early part of this season in October. So you would project there that there's even more growth, which is awesome.
Yeah, I am duly impressed, and I will say, losing Campbell and Wilson off the offensive line, he's probably going to run into some issues, just like the best quarterbacks do when they're missing key parts of their offensive line. So when he starts to come down, and when he's not the MVP because his numbers start to come down, and maybe the Patriots are going to have some losses coming up here and maybe blow the division in the end because of the offensive line issues, that's not his fault. I'm not going to say, I don't think I'm going to look at the tape and go, see, I told you Drake Maye was bad. I think a rough patch is coming up because of the offensive line. So I'm already giving him pre-grace for that. Any quarter. Justin Herbert's going to go through the same. He's already going through the same thing. When you lose a couple of key guys off your offensive line, I don't care how good you are at quarterback. Only Joe Burrow is the only quarterback I know that can pretty much be an all-star Hall of Famer with no offensive line whatsoever. Everybody else is subject to how good and bad their offensive line is, how healthy and not healthy their offensive line is. So Drake Maye is probably going to get ready to run into some issues, but I ain't going to say that it's on him or see, I told you so. I think he's arrived to good. You can't take away the place that he's gotten to in the NFL. Just like with Jackson Dart. I never thought Jackson Dart was going to make it as a good quarterback in the NFL. And 3 weeks in of watching him in every detail, going, I'm gonna find the hidden thing on tape to let me know that I was right all along about Jackson Dart. And I'm watching the tape and I'm going, holy crap, this guy is so much better than I ever imagined. Like, you just have to fold your cards and go, hey, I'm wrong. Jackson Dart is the real deal. I think Drake Maye has arrived. Just like Sam Darnold last year, there was a wave of, yeah, that's lucky. He's lucky he's with Kevin O'Connor. He's lucky. That game was lucky. And then just like 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 300 yards, 13 wins. And like at a certain point, you have to go, okay, this guy is good. You can't take that away from him. And obviously, he's playing well in Seattle. So Sam Darnold found his way to good, and you can't take it away from him. I think May has arrived there. Jackson Dart has arrived there. Friggin' Jacoby Brissett has arrived there. They're all arrived there at different points. But once they're there, you can't take it away from them. Davis Mills, to me, is being lucky. But Drake Maye is showing that he's good. And you can't take it away from him. The offensive line may make him look bad coming up, but I don't think you can take it away from him. I don't think it's a blip with Drake Maye. He's good.
I love when Jacoby Brissett had the 47 completions, there was a meme that went around that said, after just 1 year as an understudy to Drake Maye, the guy went out and set the all-time completions record, which I thought was fantastic. All right, so I'm going to have to probably for the podcast move this discussion, which I'm sure the Patriot fans and everyone's going to enjoy, to the back, because they're also going to want to get their hungry hands on some plays for this week. So let's get to the Thanksgiving games, starting off with the Lions game is starting at 1 p.m. Eastern this year.
Is it?
I feel like it's Yeah, I feel like
Oh,
it's
I
been
thought
at
it was always
12:30.
12:30.
It's always 12:30, and I guess for ratings they moved it to 1. I don't know. By 12:30 I'm ready for the game to start, so I don't love the change to 1, but they didn't consult me on it. So your thoughts on, you want to kick it off with, obviously we've got Green Bay coming off an absolute destruction of the Minnesota Vikings at home, and the Lions really scuffling and struggling at home with the Giants last week as they head into this one. Obvious revenge from week 1 too. If it's not obvious, that was a maybe worse than either one of those games last week. The beating that and the smothering that Green Bay put on Detroit week 1, if you recall back when everyone was really hitting the panic button immediately on the Lions and blaming the changes in coordinators and really questioning whether this team was a contender based on how bad they got beat week 1. So your thoughts on this matchup, RC?
This is the game that I like the least from trying to bet or figure out or have any conviction on, because I believe in Dan Campbell. I want to believe in the Lions. I kind of want to root for the Lions for whatever reason. My heart is kind of with the Lions. So I see this matchup, and I don't like I don't like Matt LaFleur. I don't like Jordan Love. I hate the Micah Parsons trade. I want Green Bay to fail, to just try to send a message to the NFL to please stop investing in these edge rushers, because that's the biggest waste of money that you can have. I don't care how many sacks they get. So everything about me wants Detroit to win this game, but I look at Detroit's recent performances and I'm like, I don't know that the Lions are very good. They got lucky to beat the Giants. They did get beat by the Eagles pretty soundly, even though the score was close. The Eagles were the better team for sure. They beat Washington without, either Jaden Daniels got hurt in that game or there was no Jaden Daniels at all.
No Daniels at all in that game.
Then the worst quarterback in the NFL, J.J. McCarthy, went out and kicked their butt.
He did.
When Detroit beat Tampa Bay, and I'm just going backwards on their schedule. When Detroit beat Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football, I thought Tampa Bay got very unlucky with a lot of things that turned that game, and it was still close. But I didn't think Detroit went and blew them out. I thought Tampa Bay lost the game more than Detroit won it. And then when Detroit went and faced Kansas City whacked them. And I don't think Kansas City's that great either. So I had the Lions on a pedestal the last couple of years. I don't think they're on that pedestal. I think they're very beatable. They're good, but they're very beatable. The Packers, so one week I'll watch them and I'll go, they're great. The next week I'll watch them and I'll go, they're terrible. Like, I don't know what they're doing. So I don't know what Green Bay team's going to show up. I'm going to assume them being on the road is not going to help them. They'd be better if they were at home. I'm at a shoulder shrug of how this game is going to go. I would lean Detroit just because it's at home, divisional revenge, all those factors, and they're both good teams, not great teams. I just take the home team with the revenge factor, the better coach, in my opinion. But I wouldn't put a penny down on the game.
I think that burned in some people's minds, especially those who might have been playing Circa Survivor a couple of years ago, where everyone saved the Lions for Thanksgiving, and Green Bay went in there and beat them up pretty good. They have including me. I had 2 entries left and I lost one on the Lions. That was the only time in my life I made it to Thanksgiving in that contest. But you're right when you mention the home road splits for Green Bay. They're as extreme as any team in the league. I'm just looking here. They were the only game where they gave up, where they held their opponent to a low total, was when they played Cleveland, and they held Cleveland to a very low total. Remember, they had the the kick return. So it was next to nothing. I mean, they got 13 points, but that wasn't the defense. They played excellent at Cleveland. They gave up 40 at Dallas. You remember that Sunday Night Football game that ended in a tie, 40-40. They were at Arizona. They gave up 23. At Pittsburgh, they gave up 25.
I thought going into that Dallas game, Green Bay was looking like one of the best defenses I had seen in the last decade. And then they go into a 40-40 game with Dallas that wasn't necessarily showing that offensive firepower at that point. So that's where Green Bay kind of lost me. And they've just kind of weaved around the wilderness, having randomly good and bad games since. But I'd argue that Green Bay's probably, in the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, is probably playing better football than Detroit.
I think that's true. I think it's true. And you mentioned that you haven't put a penny on it. I can tell you, I got one, at least in terms of the line moves, they got one game right and one game wrong. Just throwing, I was looking at the Thanksgiving games a little early before this past week's games were played. So I thought, I might have even sent this to you. I thought Detroit -3. I just thought the chances based on this week's results. Now remember, Detroit was a 10.5 point favorite that was bet up to 14. So you expected them to really lay it on the Giants, and they didn't. And the Packers were favored by 6.5, and they had a better outcome than even Detroit. So falling short of that, it impacted this. But I just thought there was when I saw the Detroit -3, I thought we had a better chance of the line going to 3.5 based on a Detroit blowout than 2.5. So I was wrong. It actually, you can get 2.5 pretty easily. So I took Detroit -3 is the line move that I got wrong. So now it's 2.5. So what do I do? So what concerns me with the Detroit pick is if you look right now, so there's one thing that you mentioned, which is Green Bay is playing better, not necessarily on the road. So I look at 2 weeks ago, they played the Giants, and they barely got past the Giants too, and gave up 20 points in that game. So
the Giants should be winning the NFC East right now. FYI,
they're playing better.
They're crazy. They're so good, and they lose these games so inexplicably. Yeah. They have beaten, and they had Denver. I count the Denver game as a win. They had Denver beat. They beat the Chargers. They beat Denver. But they beat the Eagles. I mean, the Giants are one of the hidden. They may be the greatest 2-win team in the history of the NFL.
It's true, and even losing the quarterback, no problem. Losing Scatterboo, they get by it. So here's a big concern for me is. Generally, the Lions are very popular on Thanksgiving. Early money, the Lions are taking 78% of the cash, 75% of the tickets. And I heard on a show that when you look at the parlays and teasers that were put in last week, when you look into the accounts, the money is on Detroit. So the book is already getting money on Detroit, and they moved the line down to 2.5 to invite more money on Detroit. So they're taking a position, and the position they're taking is on Green Bay. So that's, if I get a peek at a 3, I might just take the other side and take my 10 cents or 15 cents a loss, whatever the juice winds up being, and move on with my life. Because that line move really concerns me. Whenever a move is made like that, because there's no injury news that would do it. Whenever a move is made like that, I think, okay, that's kind of an issue. There's still definitely things. I agree with you where there's things on either side of this game. I like the revenge from week 1 for sure, and for that reason, I wouldn't bet Green Bay. So I think what you're going to have is a lot of people at 2.5 teasing Green Bay up. That is a thing that's going to be happening, or I guess straight bets on the Lions. And based on the line moves, it seems like I'm always interested in which way the books are shading to get the money, because you have to think on Thursday all day, morning to kick off, you're getting Lions money, not Packers money.
And I would want to see the final injury reports. The way the injury reports are going, let's say that these two teams are kind of even coin flippish. The way the injury reports are going, it's going very much potentially against Detroit in this game. Green Bay's getting healthy. The players that they have that are hurt are expendable, not key. Detroit has a lot of key players that are questionable and haven't been practicing, and some of them are offensive linemen, some of them are key defensive players. A lot of them seem to make their way to playing, but I don't know how healthy they really are even when they are playing. So,
well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because I did get the sense that Detroit was, without, of course, official injury reports. We're barely getting prop numbers at this point, but that could be the reason for the half-point move too. If people are on to those injury reports. So I have an idea for a prop, and the only reason it's just an idea right now is because there are some players where the lines are out, and others, this is maybe a more of a, it's not an obscure player, but it's not a star player either. So the prop is Luke Musgrave under his receiving yards, and his average for the year is 11.7, because he got 117 yards in 10 games. In a couple games he just had 0. So obviously the backup tight end that's thrust into a starting role. But the thing that has me looking in this direction is the last couple of weeks, and tell me if you picked it up on this, kind of studying the games, what the Packers have done is gone to 6 offensive linemen. Because Tucker Kraft not only is a great receiver, but was also a great blocker. Evidently, Musgrave is not a good blocker. So they've gone with 6 offensive linemen. So a lot of the time, Musgrave's off the field. And then when he's on the field, everyone knows he can't block, so he may be there for a receiving threat, which he's not that much of a receiving threat as it is. And so it's a flashing, red light. Cover this guy, he's on the field. Like, the only thing he's going to do, because he's a lousy blocker. And so if you look at his game logs, I mean, he showed up a couple of times, but most times he's just kind of absent. And especially if we think, I think if you get Green Bay ahead, you're loving Luke Musgrave might not even be on the field.
And I don't, in my opinion, from watching the last 2 years, I don't even think LaFleur likes him. I think he wishes he doesn't have to put him onto the field. I think he likes Josh Whyle more, and I would say I'd have more confidence that Josh Whyle has more receiving yards than Musgrave does. I don't know. I'm going to check to see what Whyle did last week. 1 whole target, 1 whole catch.
Well, that's all.
And that fits. But I don't. If he gets 1 yard this week, that'll probably beat Musgrave. But I know they do that. Fitzpatrick probably plays more because he's a blocker. That Fitzpatrick last week played 40 snaps, Whyle 27, and Musgrave 25. So I know they don't really want to put Musgrave on the field. He has been getting a couple targets each week.
Yeah.
If Savion Williams doesn't play and he's out, I think Savion Williams is like 6'3", 6. I mean, he's a big guy, and they can, when they're gonna have their like one diversionary pass that's not to the typical Dobbs and Watson and Wicks and all that. Savion Williams was starting to get his nose in there for jet sweeps and some passes. If he's out, he's kind of like that big guy, almost like a small tight end. If he's out, that may give Musgrave a little bit of a window to get that one catch to get you over the top, but I would be betting more against Musgrave than I would be betting on him.
Well, it's hard when you don't know the number. I mean, I'm just saying the averages. There was 2 games where he had 0, so even if you remove those games where he had 0 targets, that would put him around 13. So
since Kraft is gone, he's gotten he's averaging 15 something. 16.
Is that the last 4 games?
Last 4 games. But the last two games, he's got 7 and -1 for yards.
So crap left. He was 34, 23.
I'd say that number's probably going to be around 11 on the low, maybe 13 on the high.
Well, unless it's being bet hard under it. But the good thing about, I guess what I was thinking here is not to jump on the first number you see, but to shop around and see. Sometimes you get a rogue 15.5. You know, all the numbers are juiced. Not that he's a popular player to see him juice that high, but I would say this is just a guess, but I think it's a pretty good one. I bet 85% of the bets are on the over on any given. You know, there's a reason to hit a specific person. So like I said, the catalyst for me was I was listening to them being a Green Bay podcast, talking about how this 6 offensive lineman is really working. And it's kind of another reason why I think, oh, geez, you know, Detroit hasn't been playing as well. The Packers have this 6 offensive lineman thing that they're working on that could potentially help them, because they know the offense needs help. If the Green Bay is losing in those games, aside from the Dallas 40-40, it's mostly been the defense holding opponents to 16, 13, and then they still manage to lose the game.
I don't love.
So are there any?
Yeah, I don't love any of the props in this game. The only two that I have kind of noted is for a lesser player. And I don't see the props up yet, and I was just going to check to see if FanDuel had them, because DraftKings certainly doesn't, is Dontavian Wicks is starting to get more involved, coming back from, I think he was a little banged up. FanDuel doesn't have anything on him either, it doesn't look like. If they take his last 5-6 games, or they take season long, the number's probably going to be down from what he's been doing lately. So I'm interested to see what the Wicks line is going to be. It may be like 18, and I think he's going to be good for 20 plus, 30 plus. He's kind of their hidden. Sometimes, like every other week, he can become like a go-to almost for Love, especially when a lot of attention goes to Watson and a lot of attention goes to Dobbs. Wicks will sneak in there and be the best of the group. And if Jaden Reed is healthy, I don't think that'll probably bring Wicks's number down to 15. But I don't think Reed is going into this. I think Reed, if Reed plays, it's going to be very limited. And I don't know why the world is waiting for Jaden Reed to return like the prodigal son is returning. Jaden Reed is not even going to be a starter for the Packers when he comes back to full health. So he's not going to come back into this game and be a high impact player, I don't think. He's just going to be another one of their rotation guys. But it could bring the Wicks number down to the 15 range, and then I want to be on that. The only other thing that I saw was I'd look at maybe betting Goff's 241 passing yards under, because Green Bay does not give up much in the passing game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd like it more if they were on the road. I think I don't know. I look at Green Bay's defense. I didn't look at all the quarterback output versus Green Bay. I was just looking at points against, and it's really extreme when they go on the road. So I'm noticing Wicks, he was 2 for 30 in the first matchup between these two teams. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's only been in single digits twice. Otherwise, he's double digits. So if Wicks did get dealt at 15 to 17, he's pretty consistently over that, and he does get targets.
Yeah.
Minimum of 2. His lowest target the entire season is 2.
And when he's down mid-season, when he was down to like 2 targets, 1 catch, 2 catch, it was low snap counts that he was playing. He got kind of banged up because you see he's got a week 6 game, and then that he played his lowest snaps because he got hurt in game. Then he didn't play for a couple weeks. He came back week 10. So part of it was he got hurt. So one of those games was kind of like shouldn't really count against him. So if you ignore that, he's double digits in if you take the 5-yard game away, which I think he got hurt in and played his lowest snaps and then missed the next couple of games. If you ignore that, he's double digit yards all but one game this season.
Yeah, only at the Giants he didn't get it.
Yeah. If the line is 15, if the line was 15 every game he's played and ignoring the 5-yard game, you'd win it 8 out of his 9 games played.
And Jacobs, who knows if Jacobs in? I mean, you can see them throwing. They're going to throw the ball, I would think. So what's the max that you say for Wicks that you would?
The closer it gets to 20, I start to get a little shaky. And then if Jaden Reed is back, they'll have him come in and get a couple of targets. But I'd say 20 is probably that magic number. But I'm hoping it gets down to 15. It's probably going to come in around 18.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just wrote down right here, my max on Wicks is going to be 18.5. Otherwise, I'm willing to let it go. And my minimum on Musgrave to play the under is probably, I'm hoping for it higher, obviously. I'm looking for whatever I can get. But I think I would play Musgrave under if it was 10.5. I'm hoping, as I said, to get into the low teens. But if it was 10.5, then the market's kind of hinting at.
You can, we can talk offline about any money that you want to give me that I bet the over to ensure that you win the under. Because if I bet him over, he will
Musgrave
get shot by a whale harpoon in the first quarter and doesn't have a chance to get to his prop if I bet him over.
You just need to get the first couple of unders. You know, it's never.
If I bet under
the end of the game,
I bet under on Jameson Williams because I was so sick of him, so sick of losing, and that launched him to his 3 out of 4 game stardom. So it doesn't matter whether I bet over or under. It's going to be the week. It's going to be their one bad week or their one good week in a chain of games. So I'm very lethal at bringing players to their worst performances or their best performances this year.
Anything worth betting is worth betting several weeks in a row. So I would say you got to stick to it.
I
like someone under.
I got that Ty Johnson money from Thursday night on the first series. It was my big bet of that Thursday night game, and I was so pleased with myself, and it was so easy. I was like, damn, I should have bet more money, but I'm so gun shy because I keep seeing these great opportunities and they always fall to something weird always happens. So I bet the Ty Johnson receiving yards kind of heavy for me and got it in the first series. So when it came up to Sunday's games, I'm looking at that Sean Tucker number. I'm like, that Sean Tucker number is gold. 7 yards receiving. The guy's a great receiver. He's going to be acting as the starting running back this game now for sure. Like, this is money. This is easy money. I'm going to bet all of my winnings from the week, and I'm going to put it on Sean Tucker. And then I saw Baker Mayfield get his shoulder knocked out and hadn't thrown to Tucker yet. I'm like, well, that's over. He threw one pass he had one for 4 yards, and I'm like, I'm never going to get another target again. Actually, he did have a target, but Teddy Bridgewater threw it 5 yards over his head, or he would have got it. But I mean, that's the type of thing. Like, I'm not mad at myself. Like, I don't know anything about football. It's almost becoming a comedy to watch. Like, if I bet big on it, last year if I bet big on it, it hit. This year if I bet big on it, something bizarre will happen to the quarterback, or the player will get hurt, or the player will. I had the Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins on Thursday night had about 200 yards receiving. He officially had 40, but there was another 150 left on the field. 75 of them he caught, but had a step out of bounds as he was coming down. I'm like, I can't get mad at myself. He was out there in they're doing what I expected, but it's just like they're always 1 foot out of bounds. They made the catch that gives me the prop, but now, there's a penalty. Now we're getting it reversed because of an illegal shift. Because I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I always... So, but I'll be back betting them again this week. My luck's due to turn.
Well, I think, you're looking to see if you got the handicap right, whether or not you won the bet. Like, I had Josh Palmer with the Bills, his first game back, 19.5, 60, and he gets that first target of the game was Palmer, and then he winds up getting 5 targets, 17 yards. It just didn't click. But if you look at if you got a guy at 19.5 yards, got 5 targets, you had the handicap right. The next week his prop was 26.5, so you were on it, but it just didn't pay off. All right, let's find some prop losers in Kansas City and Dallas. This is the line move that I got right. I did take Dallas +4 when I took the Detroit -3. So win some, you lose some. There's some play you can get Kansas City -3. You can get Dallas +3.5 right now. It's pretty split out there. And I think that what I heard is that teams that play overtime on Sunday and then wheel back and play on Thursday have a very poor record. I'm going to pull it up. I think it was 6-24. There was a 6-25 against the spread in that case. And so, not to say that Kansas City can't do it. Just when I was looking at the 4-point spread that was out there, I just thought Kansas City doesn't. They typically, when they win, not so much every game this year, but their MO is find a way to win and not cover the spread. So I could definitely see this being a field goal game. Although, I got to say, I'm curious to know your thoughts on Kansas City's defense, because I was really carrying the thought that Kansas City's defense is outstanding, kind of like they were the last couple of years when Spagnuolo said it was the most cerebral group he's ever coached. But then they really weren't that when they played at Buffalo. There's just a couple of games where they were sort of disappointing. So your thoughts on their defense, because if they are the Kansas City defense we've known the last couple of years, then Dallas is going to face their biggest challenge of the year probably. I mean, Green Bay came to town, but that didn't. They went through them like they were not there.
They haven't really played a lot of good quarterbacks to fully judge them by. When they played Buffalo, they gave up 28 points. They didn't seem like they gave Buffalo much of a tough time. Jacksonville should have beat them. Jacksonville got 28 points on them. It's like they played the Giants before Dart took over. I think they played Baltimore. Lamar Jackson got hurt, and then Cooper Rush was in. That's right. Jacksonville did beat them.
They're the ones with 31.
Yeah, got 31. So I'm not fully impressed with Kansas City. I am starting to get impressed with Dallas, and I'm starting to think Dallas may win that game straight up. Everything has changed for Dallas in the last couple of weeks. You got to hand Jerry Jones, you got to give him a lot of credit. They didn't sit idly by at the trade deadline. They went out, reinforced the defense. At the same time, they got some defensive players back, starters back healthy that had been out for a couple of weeks. They got a good offensive line. He got him Pickens, and Pickens is operating as the best wide receiver in the NFL, barring maybe Puka Nacua. That's a totally different Dallas team than what it was in the beginning part of the season. You put Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams in the interior. You throw Logan Wilson in there now at linebacker with with Overshown back from injury. Now all of a sudden, we used to be able to run all over Dallas. My internal metrics on the Dallas Cowboys run defense was one of the worst in the league, and it's like, load up and put all your fantasy guys on against to run the ball against Dallas. Now that Dallas, I don't know that you want to run on the Dallas Cowboys. They're susceptible against the pass. They don't have the greatest corners, but they've at least stopped getting gashed on the run. They've got a good offensive line. The offense is clicking. I don't know that I look at Kansas City and go, I don't know that Kansas City's that much better than Dallas is, or I don't even know if they are better than Dallas is at this point. To me, they're close enough together teams, with Dallas being at home, and it'll probably be one of the first times that Dallas is maybe getting the home crowd more energized and at their game, instead of it being a home game that's really a road game. I'm kind of liking Dallas here, with Kansas City coming off that a game they probably should have lost but won in overtime. Are they thinking that Dallas is going to be a break for them and Dallas is going to go clean their clock? Or I just don't see Kansas City as that team from before that would just going to go and mow down the opponents. So if you're going to give 3.5, 4 points to an equal opponent, in my book, playing at home and playing well recently, I think I'm going to have to take the points with Dallas. And Trey Smith, then you go to the, is there an O-line issue? Should be the first question in every game. And they're going to be missing their all-pro guard for this game.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're going on the road, Kansas City, and you can't run, I think that they might struggle based on Smith being out, but also Dallas's reinforced run defense. It is a challenge, and I can see in my mind's eye just Mahomes having to drop back and throw too much. I know that the Dallas pass defense can be had, but I also think Dallas's offense is formidable. You're both good kickers, but Aubrey can score from. I was just actually looking to FanDuel to see if there was kicking props. Kind of like the most exciting thing in this game might be, field goal props, because at Dallas, you could have, what's the longest field goal prop, or even number of field goals? Because I think both defenses are.
Or does Dallas just go for it all the time?
Up. They don't seem to.
No, they don't. But they should. Playing Kansas City, and the way that the kickoffs are going now, and every kickoff, the ball seems to wind up at the 40-yard line no matter what happens with the kickoff. So I think I'd go for about every fourth down now. I wouldn't be worrying about field goals, especially when I'm playing a team like the Chiefs. Not that the Chiefs are great, but they can score.
Well, I guess even just if you look at the Chiefs, they just came off playing Buffalo, Denver, Indianapolis, and then after this game, I know it's Thanksgiving, it's going to be a focus of theirs. You have Houston on Sunday Night Football, Chargers. I mean, this is their last NFC game. It's a road NFC game. I understand it's Thanksgiving, but they've got games that are going to impact their playoff chances. So you're giving them enough room to win the game, but not cover, right? Because they've got 3 points worth of scores to do that on. I guess it's more my thought is, do the Chiefs have motivation to come in here and crush the Cowboys? It's all of the games they have left are more important than this one because they're AFC, and all the 3 prior games were more important than this one because they were AFC. And on the other side, you have the Cowboys, who have been down and out and mocked early in the season when they lost, when they traded Parsons and were playing poorly, and now you've got the Nealon tragedy that they seem to be rallying around. They got a big flag they wave after the games, the 2 games that they won so far. So I really feel like if I was going to be an outsider trying to guess motivation, I just feel like you've got the home team on Thanksgiving, but you also have a team that they might be people may be starting to slowly realize that it's a team on a mission, that really feel like they can do good things. And they've been doing all of this with CeeDee Lamb dropping every ball, and he's a superstar receiver, so he puts it together. I just think you have uh, an offense that the Chiefs will have their hands full with on the road.
And then the new Dallas team that dominated the Raiders, which they should, and then had a great comeback win against the Eagles. This new Dallas team, with all these new defensive players and all the returning defensive players from injury, this new Dallas team has to look, with their 5-5-1 record, but their 2-0 record with this new look, we'll call it, and has to go. If I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I'm like blowing up posters with the -4, the -3, and that you guys think you're so good, and we've been playing so well, and yet the world thinks we're at home, we're underdogs to another team that barely. Does Kansas City have a winning record now? That's 6-5. Like they're they have a similar record to us, and they're gonna be they're gonna be favorites to us. We just went out and just took it to the Eagles when everybody thought when it was 21-0. We just roared right back in that game and took it. Like, and now they think Kansas City's gonna come in here and take it from us. Like, we don't get things taken from us. We take from. I just see Dallas on such a high right now, and I see Kansas City as going into this game. Again, like you said, just as an outsider looking in, I think Kansas City's going. I think Dallas is going. You think we're underdogs? Did you see how we played? Do you see how good George Pickens is? Do you know we got all these new defensive players? We're going to go out and show you. And I think Kansas City's like, we can't lose this game. We can't lose this game. Look at the schedule ahead. We can't lose this game. I don't know that Kansas City. I think Kansas City last week was like, we have got to win this game. The season is on the line. We got to win this game. This week for Kansas City, it's like, don't lose it. Don't blow this one, because look at the schedule ahead. Don't
get back the win that we had. Yeah. It seems
so,
like that to me. And the Dallas, they're at Detroit next week, so it's not like they've certainly got a couple of games, but I feel like they're just ascending. And when a team ascends and has that emotional lift, I mean, you brought it up. They came back from 21 down last week, so they're not quitting. They feel bulletproof. If Kansas City gets up 10, they're not going to blink. And Kansas City got up 14 against Jacksonville in that game that they lost 31-28. Kansas City, they did it a couple times this year, but they don't put either they're not good enough, or they don't have the killer instinct to go blow somebody out. If they did, I'd tip my cap in this game. Not that it needs to be a blowout to cover the spread, but Kansas City wins by 7, then tip my cap. But I think that you said it. Dallas has a chance to win the game outright, and then you're giving me Chiefs by 1, Chiefs by 2, Chiefs by 3. All the different ways that can happen.
Yeah,
there's more than ever now.
And I don't think Dallas is going to be looking ahead to Detroit either. They're playing Kansas City. They can't be looking past this game. They can't be looking past the Chiefs going, oh, we play the Lions next week. This is like going to be a Super Bowl atmosphere for Dallas. If they win this game, if they vanquish the defending Super Bowl champions at home on Thanksgiving, on the roll that Dallas is on, I mean, it's going to be a college atmosphere for them, I have a feeling. And I think when Kansas City gets down, I don't think this is a Kansas City team like old. I think they're very, very... This is the most susceptible Chiefs team in 4 or 5 years. So I think that if Dallas can get them down, I think Dallas will take it, will finish it and finish the Chiefs. I really don't know that the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, because whether they beat win or lose to Dallas, they ain't going to beat Houston next week. That Houston defense is going to crush Kansas City, I think. Then Denver's lurking again. Those top-notch defenses are just waning for the Chiefs.
Well, at least they get Houston at home, because if it was at Houston, I would think a much taller task. But I agree they're in trouble, and I don't think just because they must win that they will win. And this line is giving us a little bit of a cushion where they can win, and we still cover. Are there any player props in the Kansas City Dallas game that?
I don't love any here. I've got some more ones that I like coming up, but the Rashee Rice 6.5 yards on DraftKings, or 6.5 catches. I think he'll get 1,000 catches against Dallas. That's all Kansas City does is throw to Rashee Rice, and Dallas is no Colts or Broncos type of defense that can at least put a little bit of a lid on Rashee Rice. I think it's going to be Rashee Rice mania versus George Pickens mania. So 6.5 catches, I think at the minus 110 isn't a bad bet. And then I do like Kareem Hunt over 35.5 yards, although with Trey Smith being out, it worries me. But the angle about Kareem Hunt is, so Pacheco's back, so everybody's like, oh, Isaiah Pacheco's back. Like, Kansas City is a Kareem Hunt-led backfield. That the other guys are going to get touches, but if Kansas City wins this game, it's going to be probably because Kareem Hunt ran the ball 15 to 20 times with some effectiveness. They're not going to be a heavy. They haven't been, and they're not going to be a heavy Isaiah Pacheco run game. They're going to be a kind of heavy to maybe fully heavy. If they can get a lead, I think they'll really start to run it with Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt could blow away that 35.5 yard over line.
All right, well, I got my prop based on that. Isaiah
You're doing Pacheco under
29.5. He's almost the same as Kareem Hunt. I've seen this too many times as a Pacheco fantasy football guy. He'll be out there. He'll probably get 7 or 8 carries in this game. And that's going to be impressive.
That's when he was in favor. He would get 7. Right. I don't with what Kareem Hunt has done lately. I don't think Pacheco. I wouldn't be surprised if Pacheco got 5 carries, give or take a carry in this game.
Because he does get receiving yards too. So my thought would be, if I was going Hunt over, and the number isn't posted yet, I'd be interested in Hunt over rushing and receiving. But Pacheco specifically, I'd be interested in under rushing, under 29.5. They don't give him the opportunities. Dallas is better against the run than the pass. And Pacheco winds up getting 30, 40 yards receiving. That doesn't count against us. It doesn't hurt us. Under 29.5, and that's only on FanDuel. I want to shop around and see if I can do better than that.
DraftKings is 28.5 under for Pacheco.
Okay.
Hunt 35.5 under.
I would accept the 29.5 is okay for me. I would just put the work in to see if I can find a rogue. In my offshore, sometimes they blatantly shade the numbers higher for these guys. So I'll take a look at that and see if I. Nope, there we are. That's Kareem Hunt. Pacheco, no, 29.5 on there too. So that's where he is so far. I mean, I figure if I. Those are pretty fair numbers. Sometimes you see them shaded, but it's only Tuesday.
He is not coming back to take any type of workload. Maybe he gets in one of his carries. There's a holding not called, and he springs it for 40 yards, but he is not coming back to be the lead carry guy. Worst case, you're gonna win the Hunt and maybe lose the Pacheco. I don't think it's going to go the other. I don't think if you bet on Hunt over and Pacheco under, that you're going to lose both ways unless there's an injury that happens to Hunt.
Well, that's it. The injury to Hunt is a potential risk, but I like. I'm comfortable enough. I mean, is it going to hit more than 55% of the time, is what I think. And I think if we played this game out 10 times, I think 6 times Pacheco's under this number, and maybe more, because we've seen it so many times. He's just not the guy.
Late last season, when he came back from injury, he'd start, he'd get the first play or two, then Hunt would come in, and you'd hardly see Pacheco for the rest of the game. This year, they've been going more to Pacheco as kind of their spark plug, and it hasn't really been great. And then they had to use Hunt as the spark plug, and he's rushing for 100 yards in a game. So they're not going away from that. I know Andy Reid loves Hunt more than anybody. He loves Pacheco, but he loves Hunt more than anybody. He's not going to turn his back on him.
Agreed. All right, Cincinnati at Baltimore. In the evening, looks like we're finally getting Joe Burrow back. And the line was 7. And I saw 6.5. So I kind of have a feeling that's where we're going to win the official. I mean, I think the official announcement is out there that the quarterback is going to be Joe Burrow. So let me see what I can see as far as the most current line moves. But what are you thinking on a touchdown in this game?
I will take the 7 points with the Bengals, and you could twist my arm to take the money line, and that the Bengals pull an upset of the Ravens here.
Okay.
I think the Bengals are quite underrated from the standpoint that everybody thinks that they are just a hot disaster, especially on defense, and it's really, I don't think it's that true. You can crush them via the tight end, but the reason why, who did they play last week?
New England. That was the Patriots.
The reason the receivers, that Maye had some issues and that the outside receivers had, down games, but Hunter Henry went crazy, is that's the way you do the Bengals defense. But they're not, it's not like they're just a total doormat that you can throw all over. It's just the tight end, and then they put up some fight in the run game, like against the Patriots. Didn't run all over them. Granted, they lost offensive linemen in that game. I don't think the Bengals are that bad. I'm not making a case that they're good or great or anything, but I don't think they're that bad. And I think Lamar has got some real issues going on injury-wise, that his numbers look terrible. Teams are stacking Derrick Henry. They're making Lamar beat them. Lamar's got several injuries, and his numbers haven't been good. They're on a win streak, but it's against a lot of bad teams that they really haven't played well against, even though they've won. You got Joe Burrow coming back in this game. That's a lot of points. 7 points is a lot of points to give to Joe Burrow in a do-or-die game for the Bengals.
Yeah, well, they might be out of it already, but I got to tell you, when I was looking at the New England-Cincinnati game, I gave New England a lot of credit for that win, even though you look at it and say, okay, it's Cincinnati, look at their record, it's Joe Flacco. But, Cincy, they got out 10-0 when May had the pick 6, and then it was, it's 10-0. So at some point, after that, New England scored, and then immediately after that, Flacco threw his own pick 6 that made it 14-10. But they were in it. The defense was. They brought tons of energy, I noticed. They lost a couple of guys kind of in and out of the game. I would want to look at the injury report, but you're right. That for me, the handicap starts with the favorite. And if you're favored by a touchdown, it's on you to beat the other team by a touchdown. And the Ravens are not in their best form right now. Record-wise, you see it. Ravens are better than Cincinnati, but division game, the Bengals, I think, for the last 3 years in a row have played a Thursday night game at Baltimore, so they're definitely used to going here on a short week. And Burrow back is Burrow and Chase back, right? So I think that you're going to see I was impressed with just some of the second, third, fourth receivers that Cincinnati was throwing out there as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah, I don't think they'll be totally devoid
Yoshibaz,
of.
Tinsley.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna. I think Jamar Chase is gonna get 14 targets. So I don't
14
even
targets.
know.
I think
That
he'll
was
get 14 catches. He may get
he
25 targets.
he might. I just think it's gonna be.
And
That was my thought on this one. Is I want to see what the and I'm going to look at the props. I'll let you talk for a
and
second. I think those receptions might be through the roof, and it's going to go over anyway.
and you know what's to me the little added twist to this is, again, being on the outside and trying to judge motivations. So the Bengals are getting Burrow back, and you're like, yeah, the season's probably already lost because they're this terrible record. If Cincinnati wins this game, they could legitimately be 2 games. Oh, they will. They, assuming the Steelers lose this week as well, the Bengals are 2 games out of first place. With Burrow back, with 5 games to go, having just beaten Baltimore, who's probably going to be the team that wins. They've beat Pittsburgh, so they beat Pittsburgh and lost to Pittsburgh, so they split with Pittsburgh. They're just now going to play Baltimore 2 times in the next 3 weeks. Cincinnati, if you assume that the Steelers aren't going to hold up, maybe they will, maybe they won't. If you're the Bengals and you go, it's all about the Ravens. Can we catch the Ravens? They play them twice in the next 3 weeks with Joe Burrow. If they happen to beat the Ravens twice in 3 weeks, which would be a tall order for sure, but they beat them twice, let's just mark those down as both wins just for grins. At least the motivation of Cincinnati is, if we win this one and we're within 2 games, in 2 weeks when we play them again, if we beat them again, we're right on their heels and we've got the tiebreaker advantage. And then they're going to close out with 3 winnable games. The Bengals winning this division, ugly, like, it could be that they're all under 500, especially if Lamar gets re-hurt. This is the season for the Bengals. It's not the season for the Ravens. It's the season for the Bengals. And oh, by the way, Joe Burrow's making his miraculous Willis Reed comeback. I know that's a timely current reference, but there's a lot going for the Bengals in this game. They got everything in the world to play for in this one.
Well, they've been waiting and taking it seriously. That's why they traded for Flacco. That they've constantly been.
And part of it is
like
the
they're not
divisions.
at
The division's been so weak, so that's to their advantage, obviously.
it. Sure, yeah, but the point is that they believe that, and even before the Patriots game, they were interviewing Chase Brown, and of course they had no Burrow, no Jamar Chase, and they brought a ton of energy in that game. They just they didn't get it done, but they had the ball at the end, down 6, and they got to the inside the 30-yard line. So they were close with the Patriots, who are a top team in the AFC. So I think that I think you just kind of slap a 7-point spread on this based on power ratings. But you're right. I agree with you in that Baltimore. Arrow trending down because we don't know about Lamar's health, and if he's not going to run, they're not the same team. The defense is very good, and then with just division game, it's a touchdown. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking at, it's a 7.5 is the receptions for Jamar Chase, minus 140. So that would be, of course, 8 catches, but 10 catches is 2-1 plus 200. 10 catches, and it was on my mind already. I'm willing to take that. I think he's going to have double-digit catches in this game. You just know with Higgins out, it's going to be a Joe Burrow pitch and catch with Jamar Chase.
Whatever the Bengals think is their best way to win, and that's usually a lot of Jamar Chase, that's what's going to happen in this game, because this is their Super Bowl this week.
Well, I like that idea that it's their, that it's the biggest. It is. They've been waiting for Burrow to come back, so their motivation is off the charts, max motivation. And you're getting 7 points in a division game. All right. Well, so do you like the Chase receptions, and how would you play that if you were going to? Would you lay the -140 on the 7.5? Some of the alt numbers of interest to you? How high do you think? What is your expectation for Jamar Chase in terms of receptions in this game?
I would worry that because with T. Higgins out, that Baltimore's literally can put two guys right on Chase and try to take him out and say, go ahead and beat us with Charlie Jones. That's why I'm waiting for the Charlie Jones and Tinsley props to post. I may want to play off of all the heat that everybody expects to go on to Jamar Chase, that the other guys are going to have to do something. And they may have real low props to be able to do that with, because season long they haven't done much. But the only prop I'm actually have played so far is the Mark Andrews over, because it's almost giving you, it's almost like robbing a bank going against the Bengals with the tight end. Yeah. And that's got to be with Andrews. Likely has just not been any part of this offense, and I think the Andrews line, when I bet it, was like 34 or 35 yard. Now it's up to 38.5. So I expect that'll probably be over 40 by the time we kick off. So I'm taking the easy way and going against the Bengals problems with the tight end.
With likely 24.5 on
and he may get over it too. They may dual get over it, but watching the Ravens this season, there's no split. There's no, it's likely 1 week it's Andrews or nothing. Likely's hardly ever involved. So he might have a game here, but so can Andrews too.
Yeah, well, that was the deal last week with Hunter Henry, because Austin Hooper still got plenty of yardage.
Yep. Austin Hooper is the Isaiah Likely of the Patriots.
Yeah, it was when it was play action, throw the tight end, play action to throw the tight end. It was all day. It was available for them.
Andrews is the Hunter and Likely is the Hooper.
Okay. All right, I like that, even though it's I mean, it's only Tuesday night, but a little late to the party based on what you said. I see a 37.5. So Andrews over 37.5. All right, and then last game is Friday at 3. Chicago visiting Philadelphia. And I'll let you kick this one off.
I'm so sure of this game that when I'm so sure of something, you gotta definitely bet whatever I'm going to get against whatever I'm about to say. I'm so sure the Eagles are going to crush the Bears here that I'm sure the Bears will somehow find a way to win another game that they shouldn't win. But for me, this is an Eagles moment. The Eagles, coming off that loss, have to win this game for multiple reasons. But the Bears, then especially the Bears, have just been winning games that they shouldn't. They're one of these games has to start to go against them at some point. They are not playing that good to be sitting with this record. So I just think the combination of the Bears have got to be headed for a revert to their whatever their norm is going to be, and the Eagles coming in here off of that terrible loss, where they had Dallas down 21-0. The Eagles got to be just loaded to go in and wash the taste out of their mouth of last week's game. And I think they're just the better team than the Bears as well. But for all the other external reasons, I can't understand how the Bears keep winning these games. They're just
Well,
not that good.
As Caleb Williams says, it's just it's somebody always steps up. You know, never know who it's going to be, and that's the culture that Ben Johnson has instilled. So does that continue? I happen to agree with you. I think this is a kill spot for the Eagles coming off blowing a 20-point lead. It's only 2 weeks ago that they smothered the Lions at home. And I look at the Bears offense as a not as good version, but maybe similar to the Lions. I know it was windy in that game, so that probably helped the Eagles defense out a lot. But I just like to think about, okay, forget about the last game. Think about the game before that. And, you know, we talk about some of the additions that Dallas made to their defense, but Jalen Phillips coming to this defense, I mean, it's been awesome. Aside from melting down in the Dallas game, their defense has been awesome.
And melting down to George Pickens. I mean, it's basically George, like, they couldn't, I don't know who could handle George Pickens right now.
Yeah, but I look at I look at the Eagles and I say they played that improved Dallas defense on the road. They played Detroit's defense at home, which Detroit's defense played a really good game against them. Then they were at Green Bay. We talked about what a tough spot that is. So that's 3 games in a row. This game against Chicago is a step down in defenses for the Philly offense to face. So they still, my only hesitation with Philadelphia is no Lane Johnson, because I know that long term, if you just bet against, and that's why I took Dallas last week, only if it wasn't for Lane Johnson, I wouldn't have been on that side. But I do get the sense that this is going to be a Philly crush spot. What I'm waiting for is this market, this world that we live in right now, with the legalization a few years ago, it's just different. And I've thought this whole season is underdogs it doesn't hold. Like if the line should be Philly -7, people can't not take the points and drive it down to 6.5. It almost happens every game, and it's curious when it doesn't. So I think that it's going to depend on the results, I think, on Thursday. If you have all the favorites win on Thursday, Philly probably holds at -7. But if you get a Cincinnati upset like you're predicting, I could see this thing going to 6.5. So I'll be watching the line moves, but my instinct was exactly as yours, Philadelphia -7. And then the prop that I was most interested in was Caleb Williams to throw an interception is -106. Now, he hasn't thrown a lot. He only has 4 interceptions this year. But I'm looking at the Chicago schedule, and I think that it turns against them hard.
Yes.
And it starts with this game. I mean, at Philadelphia. Next, they get, as I said earlier, the toughest game you can play, I think, in the NFL this year as an offense, at Green Bay. Then they play Cleveland, Green Bay again. Play Cleveland and Green Bay as at home. At San Fran, home against Detroit. It turns at this point. So this, now Chicago's going into the stretch that Minnesota's got one more game and they're out of, and you get some relief. So this is the beginning for so Caleb's got 4 interceptions. I was looking at this thinking about, he's played 12 games or 11 games. I'm sorry. They had their bye, 11 games. I think he'll have more than 4 interceptions the rest of the way.
Well, here's the problem with Caleb Williams trying to bet the interceptions. Caleb Williams can, every other throw, cannot hit his target and is going to throw it 20 yards over their head or 20 yards in front of them. That includes the defense. So there's not as many opportunities to intercept Caleb because he throws the ball so far away from all the intended players that nobody can intercept it. So I don't know if he will throw that interception because he can't hardly hit his own guys. And then the other thing, thinking about this game, it reminds me of the what I thought about the Carolina-San Francisco Monday night game. I was thinking that whole days leading up to that, like, this is too big a spot for Carolina. This is too big a spot for Bryce Young on a, Carolina wins that game, they're in first place in their division. at San Francisco, solo night game, not that great of a team, but winning. This is just and playing a veteran good team. Like, there was no way I thought the Panthers were going to be able to win that game. And even though Purdy tried to give them every opportunity to get into it, just Carolina couldn't answer that. They looked like they were shell-shocked most of that game. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen in this game. Is solo night game. This is a big spot for the Bears. First place Bears, playing the defending Super Bowl champs. This is where they crap themselves and get whacked into reality, because it's just too big a spot, because they're just not that good of it. They're not ready for prime time yet. They may think they are. Their record may say that they belong, but just like Carolina on Monday night, I think this is they get the deer in the headlights look, and then they get rolled in this game.
Well, I also think it's interesting that the Bears go to Philadelphia this week, and then they get Green Bay next week. So, I mean, they're both important games because they're in the NFC, but it just is a more important game next week at Green Bay than Philadelphia. Not to say that they're looking ahead, but you get that 10 days, which is good. This is the short week. So every team's going to be kind of fired up to play the holiday game. But I'm always interested to see who they're playing the next week, to see the true focus. And I do think it's an advantage for Philadelphia seeing Detroit 2 weeks ago. I think I don't know exactly how similar the two offenses are, but I think that's with the coaching, tree situation. I think that advantage Philly for having seen the offense, and now you get the offense with maybe a better offensive line than Detroit, but with Caleb, I would say lesser, slightly lesser receivers, and then kind of the secret weakness maybe with the Bears is all the injuries. I don't know. I have to look at the injury report to see how many of their corner. They've got missing several corners.
The corners are coming back. The corners will be back this week.
That'll really help, because I look at the defensive ranking for the Bears being 26th, and I think they're not the 26th defense. They're probably middle of the pack defense, but it's been all the injuries. So the linebackers. I mean,
but they will be missing, I think, all of those linebackers again. One of the linebackers is on IR. I know TJ Edwards, I think, has already been ruled out. So their two normal starters are already out, I believe.
Okay. Well, it really helps getting the corners back. But I think that if you get, I guess the risk there would be no Lane Johnson, compromised offensive line. Can the Eagles run the ball? Because it's the same Saquon Barkley as last year, except he's running now for 30 yards a game instead of 200 yards a game, and the difference is the offensive line, 100%. So if they can't get the line figured out in this game, I think that then that's what opens the door for the Bears to hang around. But I still think in a case where their offense is having trouble, they being Philadelphia, the defense can overwhelm. I have a lot of faith in the Philadelphia defense when they're playing at home.
Mm-hmm. I think Barkley will get a lot of catches. The line's 2.5, but it's minus 131, so it's kind of rough. But I think Barkley with the missing linebackers could be a nice matchup for prop betting. Even though on DraftKings the line for it isn't that great. The yards is 20.5. I think he can beat that quite easily. They could do like what Las Vegas does with Genty now, because they can't run because everything's stacked against them. Just get them outside and throw them more passes to get them their touches. But Philly hasn't done that, so I'm kind of hesitant to go there, because it all makes sense, except for I never really see Philadelphia doing that like I see Las Vegas is doing that with Genty to try to get them going. I could see the unders, if you're liking the Philly defense a lot, the unders on a Dunzier, and DJ Moore's is already pretty low. But a Dunzier has been down for several weeks now. But the prop that I'm interested to see, if they even post it, and if they post it, it's going to be very low, so low that they probably won't even post it. But if they happen to post it, the Eagles have a fourth wide receiver. So the starting wide receivers are A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and Jahan Dotson is the other receiver. But here the last couple weeks, their number 4 wide receiver has been getting into the games, playing a few snaps. I see his jersey name out there, and I'm all excited that he's getting a shot. And last week he got he hadn't been targeted, I don't think, the whole season. But last week in that Dallas game, that was a game. It wasn't like it was a blowout and he got his targets in a blowout. This undrafted free agent rookie that made the roster got his first 2 targets. I know it was his first 2 catches, I believe, last week. 2 catches, 7 yards, 2 targets for Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper, to me, looks like a junior version of A.J. Brown. And now he's starting to get snaps and targets in the game flow, not just at the end of the game, not as, hey, we're going to throw a Hail Mary before halftime, so we'll put all the receivers in. Like, he's slowly starting to get into the game flow. In the preseason, he looked awesome. I didn't even know he existed. And then I think his first preseason game, he had like 7 catches for 100+ yards in his debut game. I mean, he looked fantastic. And then he either might have been on the practice squad, or he's been on the main roster the whole time, but hadn't played much. But now he's starting to play, got a couple targets. If they happen to list him at 5 yards or 7 yards or something like that, I'm going to jump on it. I wouldn't do the 1.5 catches that they might put him at. Yeah, I doubt that they would even list him at a half of a catch. But I would go for that just for fun. But I think the yards, I think they're starting to push him into the flow because he's just better than Jahan Dotson. So he could bring a wrinkle to that offense, to that passing game that's had some issues. But it's nice when you can not have Jahan Dotson and you can have mini A.J. Brown that you can roll into your trio. It's like having Jalen Naylor for the Vikings. Like, that's a pretty nice number 3 that's getting better and better every week. Cooper's kind of looks like they're trying to slowly get him in there, and maybe this is the week because there's a bunch of consternation about the offense and the passing game. Maybe he gets a little bit more work. Maybe he's the surprise that the Bears didn't plan for, didn't even know how good he was.
Well, I think especially with the potential, whatever's going on with A.J. Brown, where there's internal strife, it's like if you have a mini A.J. Brown and he's getting targeted, that's kind of an interesting angle there. I think we might see a prop for him. I was just looking around and on to score. He's a 17-1 to score a touchdown. Not that he's going to score a touchdown, but they listed him there. They're aware of him. So that it may take until Friday morning. But let's take a look. Yeah, what's the max you think for Cooper? He got 2 targets last week, right? So, I mean, you're thinking like he's a 7 or 8 yard guy.
If I had to bet what line that they would put on it, if they do, I bet it's 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, well, if I see him, I'm gonna be on him. I'll be on the over 6.5.
Yeah, and that one's just purely speculative fun, because I'm not sure I haven't seen where they're like, okay, we're getting him in and we're going to throw him some passes on purpose. He's more been in the game and just happened to be in a good spot where he did get throws. But it just happened. It hasn't been slowly building like Luther Burden in this game. He's been slowly building for a while, and he just took the job. Cooper's still in that early phase. Like, I don't know if this was just a little blip or if they're really trying to get him involved. I know he's really good. So the more that I see him, the more excited I get for him, because I'm like, Philadelphia's sitting on a piece of gold for a number 3 wide receiver. If they could bring him along faster, they'd have quite the trio. He'd strike more fear into the hearts of defenses than Jahan Dotson would. And there's going to be a game. It's going to happen coming up. There's going to be a game where, teams don't even account for him because who the hell's that guy? There's going to be a game where he has like 4 or 5 catches for 70 yards and everybody goes, who the hell is that? Where did he come from? Maybe this is that game.
All right, so you don't like my Caleb interception. What is the best prop you think from the game? Odunze or Moore on their unders?
Caleb is
You don't
so
like
random. It's not that I don't like unders. I mean, I'm more prone to overs for sure. But Caleb is such a wild card that it's hard to bet for or against anybody with him. Like, I don't necessarily want to bet the unders per se, but there's none of the overs I want to bet either. He's such a random event. If a known prop that I would bet out of this would be either the Barkley 2.5 catches or the Dallas Goedert 33.5 yards. Even though Goddard really hasn't had a great season, he had a couple nice games early. It's been pretty quiet lately. But if you figure the Bears are getting their corners back, that may give some pressure to the wide receivers, but they're missing all their linebackers, so maybe Goddard is the answer. Goddard or Barkley or both are the answer to the Bears' defensive issues now. They're getting their corners back, but they don't have their linebackers.
And that's why Saquon's 76.5 yards. That number strikes me as high.
Yeah. But you'd think, man, this would be the time that they would take advantage of a wounded run defense. But I've said that about Barkley several times this season, and I think he's only had one good game. It was against the Giants.
Yeah. The line they've been hurting.
Yeah, it wasn't good he wasn't good when Lane Johnson was there, so
yeah,
ain't getting any better without Lane Johnson.
True. All right, any closing thoughts for the Thanksgiving games? Do you have an overall? I kind of have been scribbling stuff down, so an overall best play. I see we have my Musgrave potential under because we don't have the lines yet.
The
Dontavian Wicks over.
If I had to pick one bet over under that if I got it right, I was going to get $1 million deposit in my bank account. If I had to go with the one I was the most sure of the ones that are listed already, it would probably be the Mark Andrews over that I got in the 35, 36 yard range. But I am, of ones that aren't listed yet, I want to see if that Dontavian Wicks gets down to 14, 15 early, and then it probably gets bet up from there. But will I be able to time it? Will I be able to see the early line in the morning or whenever, and it's 14 or 15 and I can jump on it? Or is it going to be already 18.5 right away and go up to 19.5, and then I go, okay, I still like it, but I don't. Man, I really would like it if it was 13, 14, 15. But I don't see it listed anywhere yet.
I think for me, I'm interested in the Wicks, but the Musgrave under, depending on which one gives me a better line. That's what I like in the first game, or maybe even both. Would be the Wicks over up to 18.5, or the Luke Musgrave under. I think he's going to get whatever his 2 targets, and it's very clear when he's in the game he's going to be targeted. I really like the Pacheco under 29.5. I'm with you on Mark Andrews over, but you kind of convinced me on Cincinnati +7. I wasn't exactly sure what direction I wanted to go in that game, but I think at night taking the points, that makes sense. And then I do like Philly -7, and one of the unders. I'm not sure who. I mean, Caleb's passing yards is 211, so I wanted to go under on him, but it's already so low. And then you're right, the one event can happen to one person, but I mean, the Darius Cooper is fun. Like I like the idea that we're on something ahead of everyone else. I mean, there's no one's going to be talking about Darius Cooper just yet. So, and they will put him out on Friday. He's going to have a line. If they got, I mean, there was guys below Josh Palmer in that Bills game. They're going to put out they're going to get everybody eventually out there.
Yep. We might have lost Chris. I heard a click. I don't know if he hit something. Let me see if he popped. Oh, here it goes. You're back. We lost you there for a second. Yeah.
You froze for me too.
I heard a big click on from your audio, and then it froze.
I'm on the 10-second delay, so I'm still watching us. All right. Well, RC, I was trying to say before I froze, thank you for the insight and the discussion on Thanksgiving. Thank you for your insight on the quarterbacks, and thank you for on Bended Knee coming to the Patriot fans and saying I was wrong about your quarterback, because I know that they were very offended by that, and they should be thrilled to have a superstar quarterback.
Yeah, they were right to be offended. They are the winners. I am the losers in that. So hopefully they go on and win their division and have a lot of joy for the holiday season. Yes. I have a feeling it's not going to work out that way in the end because of the offensive line, not because of May. But
yeah, closing out with May, it's like this is when the challenge was going to come anyway. That the little bit of challenge that this schedule presents is coming up right now, coinciding with 2 offensive lineman injuries. I was actually thinking it could start as early as this Monday night. They got the Giants. I mean, to be down 2 linemen, that's not the defensive line you want to be hurting against.
It's a huge, huge game, because if they can win this game against the Giants, who are, again, the best 2-win team in the history of the NFL, then they probably are going to... They're definitely in the driver's seat, because the Bills have lost an offensive lineman as well. So it's not like the Bills are anything great. But I think with the schedule and the offensive line, it's going to be a lot of pressure on the Patriots to bring this thing home. But they are definitely in the driver's seat. The Bills cannot afford another slip up. But the
Bills have some hard games too. So while the Patriots have a little uptick in the schedule, so do the Bills. So I think that I think that there's enough of if everything kind of plays to the way you'd expect, the Patriots have a couple of mulligans to still be able to get there. Of course, if they lose at home to the Bills, then I'm not sure I don't know if either one of the teams lost to the Jets or Dolphins, so that gets the division. That gets them.
The Bills lost to the Dolphins. The Bills got whacked by the Dolphins.
Right, and so that's right. Okay, so that game would be that's right. That was there was an enormous swing right there where they got murdered by the Dolphins. So that would mean even if the Patriots lose head-to-head to the Bills, they still hold the tiebreaker because they're going to have the better division record. That's powerful.
Yeah, Joe Burrow coming back may be the thing that gives the Patriots the division, because that week 14 game is
there's
The difference between Flacco and Burrow in that game.
And, well, the way Burrow is just
Burrow is kryptonite to the Buffalo Bills.
If they have Burrow and Higgins back for that game, I will definitely be taking the points with Cincinnati.
Well, and imagine not only that, but what if Cincinnati just won on Thanksgiving to draw within 2 games of first place, going and playing that, now going to Buffalo to play, but having 10 days off, be on another week where they're like, we've got to win this game. If we win this game and the other teams in our division who are not doing well lose, we'll be 1 game. If we go to Buffalo and beat Buffalo as we have been as we're capable of doing with Joe Burrow, Cincinnati next, if they win this week, there's a lot on the line for Cincinnati. If Cincinnati gets killed or loses or whatever this week, then you don't know what kind of team's going to be limping into Buffalo week 14. But if I'm a Patriots fan, I am the biggest Bengals fan on Thursday night that there ever was, because I want a highly motivated, engaged Bengals team getting ready to go to Buffalo week 14.
Yeah, that's a good thing to look for. So, one last question before we let you go. One thing I will look for is the look-ahead line the next week to see what Cincinnati might be in that Buffalo game before people realize, hey, wait, Bengals beat the Bills every time they play them. But is there so you're saying there's time and a path for Cincinnati to get there? Let's just say they get this game on Thursday night, because what I will say is that a month ago, there were people saying, bet the Ravens right now to win the division. They have a path. They have an easy month. And now the Ravens are minus 390. But the Bengals are 40-1 to win the division. So obviously you do need Lamar to be hurt and compromised, and whatever is going wrong is not getting better. That's probably a big part of the handicap, because Cincinnati has so much ground to make up. But they get this head-to-head game, go to Buffalo, 40-1. So what exactly? I haven't done this. I'm gonna take a peek right now. But what is the path?
They have got to win the next 3 games, and that's gonna almost be impossible. But they got Joe Burrow back. If they beat Lamar this week, then go beat Buffalo, and then the Ravens and Steelers are playing. So the one of the Ravens, if you assume that the Steelers are going to lose this week and then the Ravens lose to the Bengals, so the Bengals will be 2 games out. If the Bengals do beat Buffalo, they're still going to be 2 games out to somebody, because Baltimore and Pittsburgh are playing each other week 14. Then if Cincinnati wins and beats Cincinnati again or beats Baltimore for a second time, then they could be a game out after week 15, but having the tiebreaker advantage over Baltimore, and maybe starting to get into, they beat Cleveland twice. If they happen to beat Cincinnati, or if they happen to beat Baltimore twice, let me get to their schedule. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Baltimore schedule. They beat Cleveland, they beat Pittsburgh, they lost to Pittsburgh. So they're 2-1 in the division.
Cincinnati's 2-1 in the division. You wouldn't expect them to be 40-1 with a 2-1 division record.
And they have to sweep Baltimore. If they don't, it's the story's over. But if they sweep Baltimore, then they're 4-1 in the division. They're potentially just a game back. That's assuming that they do beat Buffalo. But then whatever happens in there, those final 3 games, Miami, Arizona, Cleveland, can all be winnable games. So what if they win? What if they don't beat Buffalo, but they just happen to sweep Baltimore? Let's say Lamar gets hurt or whatever for the second game. If the Bengals win 5 of the last 6 and get to 8 wins, there's a path, if Lamar is hurt, where 8 wins, it's going to come down to tiebreakers. and they're 1-1 with Pittsburgh.
Well, I would say if they can get anywhere close, Cincinnati ends the season at Miami, home against Arizona, home against Cleveland, two home games. Baltimore ends the season home for New England, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh. And at Pittsburgh is a tough Baltimore game. So you could have a situation where Baltimore and Pittsburgh are playing each other, week 17, if all these teams get close, and Cincinnati gets Cleveland. So they do get the one team in the division that you'd be begging for at home.
And if it all is kind of going Cincinnati's way, they hold the tiebreaker over Baltimore if they do beat them twice. But then I think they'd hold the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh because they split with them, but they're going to have a better record in the division if they sweep out and only lose to Buffalo.
Interesting. Yeah, I think if they split with Baltimore...
So it's improbable, but it's not
there's still
impossible.
They don't need... getting the next 3 games makes your 40-1 look great. But and at 40-1, all you need to do, really, if you bet it 2-3 times on DraftKings or FanDuel... I don't know if DraftKings does the cash outs as liberally
they do on some, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, hit or miss. But that's my thought is put in 3 bets. And there's a chance you might be able to cash out for all your money back and have a risk-free bet riding. I think I'm going to do that.
Or you could take and have all these scenarios. They already lost to Baltimore twice. Shedeur Sanders maybe gets Cleveland into the mix. If Cleveland wins out, they're 9-8.
0-4 in the division already. I don't like the tiebreaker situation.
But if everybody else winds up 8 wins or less, because Lamar gets hurt, now
no tiebreaker needed.
There's no way Shedeur is going to pull that off. I'm just if just by some fluke chance Cleveland wins next week. So, if Cincinnati wins, therefore Baltimore loses, and if Pittsburgh loses to Buffalo, so Cincinnati, we're talking about Cincinnati being 2 games out. Cleveland's going to be 2 games out as well at that point. They have a much obviously tougher path to get to it, but that division is potentially so bad. If Baltimore loses Thursday, this whole division is... the door is not closed. It is not cemented for Baltimore or Pittsburgh. There's still a path more for Cincinnati. There really isn't much of a path for Cleveland, plus it's Shedeur Sanders. And their schedule is tough down the stretch, where Cincinnati's is not. Once they get past Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, then they're going to get it. Can you imagine if Cincinnati does win Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, and are 6-8, staring down those 3 games that they'll probably be favorites in, every one of them?
Oh yeah, they will be.
That will be crazy.
Well, but this is what you have is a team that believes that they've been
and there's Joe Burrow there. We're not talking about Flacco being there. We're talking about Joe Burrow, who can pull this off. If there's anybody who can pull it off, it's Burrow.
Or they could lose on... you might be done right away.
Yeah.
But the 40-1... There's sometimes you look at a 40-1 and you just say, this can't happen to me. Dallas catching Philly is 33-1. Now they're only chasing one team. And
but they're way more games back. I think they're 4 games back.
3 in the win column, 2 in the loss column, because they have the tie. But there's not going to be any tiebreakers, or not likely to matter, because Dallas has that tie.
Yeah.
So they got to just beat them by a half game.
I'd have to look at the angles from that, but
I think Philadelphia.
I don't think Philadelphia blows a tire and goes off the tracks like Baltimore can, because Lamar is playing poorly because he is hurt.
And see, that's my point. Is Dallas is 33-1. They're shorter odds.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that the reason for that is Cincinnati. Even though everyone wants to discount Pittsburgh and count them out, you still have to pass two teams. So the odds should reflect that.
So I mean, at the bare minimum, this is the motivation the Bengals got to be talking to their team about going into this game. You got Burrow coming back. Burrow fought us all the way back. And guys, if we win this week, we've got a shot. There is a path. We lose this week, it's over. We're going to put Jake Browning in. We're all screwed. But if we win this week, here's the path. I heard it on the Bet the Close podcast. We didn't even dawn on us we had a chance. Then we listened to the Bet the Close podcast. They laid out the case.
We just wanted to get some Thanksgiving bets, and then they started talking about us. Well, all right. I took the 40-1, and I did it twice. So
look at you!
Cash one out if things went. I believe it. I mean, I think it's fun, but you're right. For the immediate future, the more pressing idea is that as a result of this conversation, I'm sold on Cincinnati +7 being
that's
a good play because of the challenges Baltimore has, and the motivational edge and the rah-rah angle for Cincinnati.
What'd you say the line was? What you bet it at?
Oh, on FanDuel, it's 40-1.
It's 50-1 on DraftKings.
I think they'll probably give me about seven cents on that. I will check the other places though. See, FanDuel I like because they'll give me the cash out and they'll let me put in a bet. But it's interesting. You're right. Is we can look at. I didn't even shop around.
I'm gonna put a parlay together involving the Bengals, and let me just see how crazy it is. See if I want to bet it, but let me just see if they'll let me bet it. I don't think there's any way Dallas can pull this off. So here's a 3-team parlay for you that I don't know that they'll let you bet. All involving teams to come at from third place to win the division. And there's one that I've actually bet because I think it's got a strong chance to happen. But if you were to parlay on DraftKings, the Bengals to win the division, the Texans to come back and win the division at 7-1, and then hook that with the Falcons at 65-1. Looks like it was such a good bet, it froze you. Oh, okay. I hear you, but it's frozen. If you were to 3-pick parlay the Bengals, the Texans, and the Falcons, who are 2 games out of first, with Baker Mayfield in some state of disrepair, and they've got a game coming up with Tampa Bay before the season ends, and the Falcons may now have the best quarterback in the NFC South, may reside in Atlanta with Baker Mayfield down. If you parlay the Bengals, the Texans, and the Falcons, it's plus 2,700,000. For a $1 bet on that, it's a $27,000 payout. If you want to have some real fun,
I would say it's worth $1 for 27,000 is a lottery ticket that you almost don't even need logic behind. You just throw it in there and it could potentially happen. But I mean, it is a lot of things to happen. What I also think is interesting to do with that scenario is, what if you bet each one of those individually, like bet size it so you win the same amount. So if any one of them happens, I bet you're ahead. I mean, it's not the same as $1 in a dream, but it's a different way to approach the
I've already bet the
you
Texans at the 7-1, at the plus 700 to win the division, because they play the Colts twice in the next 3 weeks. And if they beat the Colts twice, even if they split with them, they've got a good chance to win the division. But if they sweep the Colts, the Texans are going to win the division, and the Colts may not even make the playoffs. The Falcons are the longest shot because they've already lost twice to the stupid Panthers.
Yes.
But if the Panthers fall out of this thing, which is part of my logic, if it comes down to Tampa Bay and Atlanta, if Baker can't get right...
Which he is probably out a week, right, Baker?
He's going to try to play this week. But if he's not right, like if he's a problem, or if he becomes a real problem and is just down and out, then it's Tampa Bay and Atlanta, if you just think Carolina's going to fall out of this thing. There's another... Atlanta's already lost to Tampa Bay, but if they turn around and beat them, they're 2 games behind them now. That would bring it to 1 and split it between the 2 of them. The season series. It's just getting that much closer to an I don't even know. With Atlanta losing to Carolina twice is such a killer to that theory. Because even if they end up tied with Tampa Bay, they're gonna... Let's see, Tampa Bay... If they split with Atlanta and somehow split with New Orleans, somehow split with Carolina, that would be 3 Tampa Bay wins. Can Atlanta get the 3 division wins?
Carolina's got the Rams,
if they beat New
got
Orleans.
Seattle.
Yeah, I think this is predicated that Carolina's just going to fall out of this thing. If Carolina stays in it, they're going to have the inside track over Atlanta.
Well, part of the challenge with Carolina falling out is they play Tampa 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. So if Carolina's going to fall out, that gives Tampa wins.
Yep. Well, so the Falcons are at the Jets this week. Let's say that they win that. That's 5 wins. Then they host Seattle. Let's say that they lose that. Then then it's the Tampa. Then they're at Tampa Bay. They got to win that game. That would get them to 6-8. Then they have Arizona, Rams, Saints. They could win 2 of those games quite easily and get themselves to 8 wins. Then if 8 wins is probably not going to do it, because if Tampa Bay gets to 8 wins, they're probably going to have the upper hand. Unless they lose every one of those division games, but then Carolina's going to have 8 wins and have all the advantages.
That's the downside with Atlanta. It's the games, but it's also they're 1-3 in the division already.
Yeah, there'd have to be a Tampa Bay and Carolina collapse, which Carolina could collapse under its own weight. Tampa Bay could collapse if Baker is down and out and done. But the Atlanta part is the really weak part of this theory. You could replace the Falcons out and try something else that's maybe not as... that's far-fetched, but not as far-fetched.
Houston's interesting. They, you know what I realized that when I was going through looking at bets, and I knew I had some Jacksonville over. That was my over bet this year, team total over. But I had a couple of the alts too. So I had 7.5 was the number, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5. And then when they were maybe about a month ago when they had 5 wins, I came back on under 10.5. So I've been having, and now I gotta hope that they win. I hope they win 9.5 or 10 games, Jacksonville.
I took Atlanta out of this, and I put Buffalo in to win the division. That takes it down to 224,000 to 1. A buck.
So who is it?
$2,000.
Wait, so Houston, Atlanta's out. Buffalo's
Houston, Buffalo, and the Bengals.
Oh, I forgot about Cincinnati, who I just bet already. They were 45 to 1 at MGM. So I'm building a little Cincinnati portfolio, and now I got to get them plus 7.
How about this scenario? So Houston Bengals Buffalo, but also with the Panthers, who have the more of the inside track if Tampa Bay falls apart, because that means they're going to beat Tampa Bay at least once down the stretch. So if you go a 4-legger and throw Carolina into it, it's 1,000,003 to 1.
How much are they letting you put on that?
I've got $1 in there. I haven't hit the button on it to see if it'll let it go through, but it's saying on $1, $13,000 payoff.
I like with those 4. I like doing them all, and if one of them gets there, you're good. You got to go 0 for 4. They got to feel like you.
Yeah, I already bet the
like
Houston. I haven't done the Cincinnati. I could be. I'll have to look at the Bills, but I'm projecting that the Bills are going to win the division. Then Carolina's a total wild card. It's all based on how bad the reports on Baker is not as bad as they thought. If Baker's alive, there's no way.
I think you need an outright upset. Giants need to upset New England, or else there's not time, I don't think, for Buffalo.
They're 2.5 back. So, I mean, whatever, they've got an extra game. They have, New England hasn't had their bye yet. So let's say Buffalo's going to get to 8 wins when they both have played 12 games. The Bills are going to be 2 games back. And they're going to play New England as one of them. So let's assume that Buffalo's going to beat New England on the comeback. So Buffalo's going to be a game down if you assume that when they both have 12 games under their belt. And Buffalo goes and beats New England, if that's what happens, then Buffalo's a game back with however many, 4 more games to go?
4 games to play, and they got to finish 2 ahead of them, because they're not going to or New England needs to lose a division game. So that's where I think Buffalo's road is steep. New England's 3-0 in the division. Buffalo's 2-2. You know, if Buffalo wins at New England, that you still need to finish a game ahead of the Patriots, or they need to lose a division game, New England. Which they're at the Jets, home for Miami. That's their last 2. Oh no, I lost your audio.
Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button. I wish that they were at Miami instead of hosting Miami.
Yeah.
For that. But just a fun way to throw away $1. Make sure DraftKings stays in business.
Yep, yeah. I'm sure they appreciate that.
I'll try to hit the button on it for $1 for Carolina, Buffalo, Bengals, and Houston. If I hit it for $1, it took it. So $13,000 if I can get it. That'll pay for my housing in Jacksonville for 2 months and all my food. I'll Uber Eats every meal then with that win. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'll only get half of that amount when they take half of it in taxes.
I know, you got to put in you got to keep the parlays under 10,000 so you can avoid the taxes. Although any winnings that I have, I will pay taxes on for the sake of this recording.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure. Good luck with your Thanksgiving wagers, RC. Good luck with your Thanksgiving wagers to the audience.
Good luck to you. If you see the Wix prop before I do, let me know, and I'll let you know the same.
Yep, I'll be editing this tomorrow, and I'll keep an eye out for it. I'm thinking this thing start to hit tomorrow.
Yep.
Alrighty.
All right, I am going to shut us.